Welcome to episode 5 of Gumbo Life, the podcast. Our guest today is Dr. Rain Prudhomme-Cranford. If you're a writer, then this is definitely going to be great information for you. She talks about that Painted Horse Press and some of the works that they have coming out this year and next year. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. With me today is my friend, Dr. Rain Prudhomme-Cranford, formerly Gomez. She and I have been friends for quite a while. At least 10 years, I think, if not a little bit longer. But what I wanted to tell y'all is that before I hit record, when I record these episodes, the conversation before is really hilarious. So we were just talking about our fantastically talented family that we have created and just how generally crazy we are, and how much fun we have when we're all together. And it's been a long time. So the last time that our extended family that we have created, because, family doesn't have to just be the home you came from, but the people that you love and that love you back, was my wedding. And Rain and Andrew, who was my first guest, and it was when we got married, when Richie and I got married, it was not your traditional wedding. And he kept asking me, can we do that? And I kept asking him, what did he think was going to happen? Was the wedding police going to come and get us? And they didn't. And Rain played a big part in marrying me and Richie 7 years ago. 7 years ago, Rain.
Lord. That's right. All T's children are like teenagers and tweens.
I know. All the children are.
All the children, yeah. All the children done grown.
They done got grown, and we got crazier. But it was so much fun. And it was like, we went back and forth about who was going to be able to come and how we were going to do it. And Andrew took like some online course to be able to marry us so that it would be legal. And we just made it up, and it was so beautiful. But it was, I was good until we got on our honeymoon. I think I cried like the first 2 days because
Aww.
I did. I was so overwhelmed. It was like I was so, we talk so much about being in the moment and how you should live in this moment and not worry about the past and what's coming and all of that. I was so in the moment that it wasn't until we were like in Puerto Rico and it was just the two of us, and we went out to dinner like that first night, and we were just talking and we're at this beautiful restaurant we're sitting at this window, and the ocean is, the ocean spray is coming in, and it's kind of, the sun is setting, and it's just beautiful. And I just look at him and I'm like, I'm so happy. And that was a wrap. And I cried for 2 days.
Oh.
But it was magical, and you helped to make that happen. But I wanted you to kind of explain to everybody like what you guys did for our wedding ceremony.
Yeah, so it was amazing. It was beautiful. It was the last time all of us really were able to be together. And so, yeah, it's been over 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
Which is just unbelievably grateful. And I think all of us connected or reconnected through the interwebs.
Yeah.
And I know, I don't think I would have met you if not for everything your mom did, right? And so for my sister and I, Tierney, finding everything through the Creole Heritage Center, it was like, now you have 950 Matoyer, Prudhomme, Carrier, and relatives everywhere. And so I think that's how it started. And I remember being on Skype calls with you and Andrew.
Yeah.
Through the whole process. Yeah, planning what's going to be done.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Skype was awesome.
And so T and I were in Oklahoma. Carolyn at the time, right, was in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
And so T and Carolyn just got told what was being done.
Yep.
Uh, it's like, you show up, we do this.
Yeah.
And, so we wanted to, with the conversations, we wanted to include um, not just the um, Christianity and Catholicism that's part of Creole culture, but our indigeneity.
Right.
Um, and so we focused on particularly, right, things that are done with our Choctaw and Caddo relatives and from that side of our family. Um, so part of that was what are the things that we would have done traditionally pre-Christian, right? And the fact that those things can exist together because, right, Creole Catholicism is not Irish Catholicism. So
Right. Yeah.
and so those elements all work together. So one of the things was we went to Cane River, where part of the Red River, and gathered water because that's the water that birthed us. That's the water that carried our prayers. And so there's often a water ceremony. So we use the red family water from the river. Um, and that was then we bathed your hands to cleanse you and unite. Um, though we had 2 sachets of or gatherings of offerings to bring the family together, because a marriage is not just about, right, the couple getting married. It's about uniting a family. So there were 2 sets of gifts. So traditionally, for example, the women of the community would bring things like um, cooked meat, cooked or dried meat, seeds, nuts, things harvested from the gardens that we took care of. And the men would um, help bring sacraments, dried meat for the men, dried nuts, berries, fruits. And so we exchanged those. So the offerings that women bring and the offering that men bring, so that each family member could exchange and become part of the family. And then we sang. We sang in Choctaw Creek. Um, we sang Amazing Grace in Choctaw and Hallelujah in Creek. And then as Andrew was doing the actual ceremony, we did the blanket ceremony where we wrapped you in. Sorry, I'm getting weepy.
Don't get weepy.
When we wrapped you and Richie in the blanket that was done by a Chickasaw, which Chickasaw and Choctaws are, right, sibling tribes, and the blanket that was done by a Chickasaw artist. And then I think we sung again.
You did, and it was beautiful. It was so everybody cried.
It was lovely, and um, I have like a picture in my office from that day. Oh, I forgot, before we even started, before either parts of the ceremony started, um, T and her husband, my little sister and my brother in law, uh, made sure that everybody had prayed and was smudged, that they had cedared off.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there's a gorgeous picture of Bill smoking you off with cedar in your wedding dress, just looking beautiful.
I know that's my favorite picture because that's
Oh,
family. That was
it's one
real
of my
sweet.
favorites. Absolutely. And then everybody got jiggy
Yeah, yeah. The after wedding was a big huge
after
party,
it.
and so that was
I-
fantastic.
I'll just never forget Leilani, right? Tierney's youngest, Nani, who was only like 3, I think, at the time, standing on the dance floor, taking her headband off and throwing it at men.
Yep. And there, and there it is. That is some good times happening right there. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun for all.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then after we got married and everything, and then you went back to Oklahoma, and we got married, and Richie had to go back to California, and everybody abandoned me. Basically, is what happened. Uh,
Oh,
everybody,
you poor
everybody left.
redheaded stepchild.
Everybody just left. So, in 2016, is that when you took the position in Canada?
Yeah, so I accepted the job in 2016, and I had separated, just got divorced, and I went from during my separation, staying with my parents and on the Gulf in Florida, drove a day and stayed at your house overnight
Yep.
with the dogs, and then home back home to Oklahoma where all my worldly goods were, and stayed with T, and then left on December 26th of 2016, was in Canada by the 1st, and I've been here since.
Yep. You really left and went to Canada.
I left before somebody took federal office.
So, but you have made a visit back, just not very many.
The last time I haven't been home in forever. And the last time I didn't get to see you.
Mhm.
But I saw mom and dad, your parents, in Cane River in my last visit home, and I believe it was July of 2017.
Yeah, I know that visit meant a lot to
And
mom and dad. They were so excited that you came.
it was so good to be back. I brought Tim Hortons coffee. I came bearing a big thing of coffee and coffee candy bars.
Because that's exactly what they needed.
And
Yeah.
rain. But yeah, and like per usual, there was sassafras all over.
Mm-hmm. All over the floor.
And mom was looking at Papa Oz like, what am I gonna do with you?
Yeah. Yeah. The sassafras all over the floor. That is a one sentence description of my life. The
And
constant green cloud of pounding sassafras to make filet.
oh, and your dad went and picked up food, and I'd stopped at the French Market gas station and grabbed a yam cake, and so we ate fried fish and yam cake, and then at the end, your mom and I wound up sitting at the little table in between the living and kitchen area,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, and with her genealogy out, and we were going through those lines that we share on the Carrier side and the Varels, and we're just talking, and your dad walks over and looks down at what we're doing. He goes, "Oh, that's y'all's crazy family," and walks away.
That's about right. He probably thought he was so clever too. But that's what she loved to do best. I mean, that was her most favorite thing, to have somebody come over and talk genealogy and go through all of her research and all of that. That's what made her the happiest. That was her passion more than anything else, was the genealogy side of it, and preserving all of that history, and but being able to share it with so many people, over 25 years. She shared so much of what she learned and the research that she did, and it was that was a really big part of what the center was, but it was a really big part of who she was in a big way.
Absolutely. And, I think all of us kind of Creole Indian academics running around, none of us would exist without her. I mean, all of us owe everything to the work that she did. And what we do is it's she's that spark. She was that spark that lit that fire that made everything possible for myself and Andrew and all of us who work within kind of trying to carry on the work that she did about preserving
Yeah,
culture
yeah,
and family.
yeah. She's very proud of you and all of your work, and you know, and taking care of me because I'm high maintenance. But
Well,
well, keeping me semi sane. But I mean, a lot of when we met, with you and Tierney, like I learned so much about the native part of our culture that we just didn't have access to, the way that you guys did and do. And, it's helped me and a lot of other people to be able to learn, because I always felt, and we've talked about this, that it felt like it was I know this to be true, but I feel like it's a missing piece because it's not something that I live in every day. And that was something that was really significant for me. That's why I wanted that to be such a big part of our wedding ceremony, because I wanted to celebrate all the parts of who we are, and do that in one way, and that was through our wedding. And that was, we both learned a lot, and I think it really, especially like for Richie in that California uh, family, and not just his family, but a lot of the California families, they don't have, access or the same experiences that you've had. So that, you sharing that with everybody has been, through not just talking about it, but through all of your work, through all of your books, and, everything that you're doing. You and
I
Andrew,
think,
Carolyn, everybody.
but I think too, right, because of the nature of what Creole is, it is that multi-generational thing that happens, that all these things that hundreds and hundreds of years ago were separate fuse to be get together to become distinctly, right, its own thing. And because it's so fused together, I think a lot of folks don't realize. I, I think it's just we started putting names to the things, like why we do what we do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because everything becomes dependent on each other. Creole culture is not something that you can, and it's not meant to be that way. It's not necessarily supposed to be, oh, that thing is specifically Choctaw. Well, yeah, it is specifically Choctaw, but it also now has elements of, all this culture from France and in, West Africa and the Caribbean. And so um, I think we do a lot of things in Creole culture and we don't think, oh, well, that's because our Black grandmas or our Caddo grandmas or, our French grandmas did that thing. We do it because it's the thing we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just exists as yes, it's part of this greater African and Native experience, but
Mhm.
it's also wholly unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
So,
um, so yeah,
talking about your books and your projects and your passion project, that Painted Horse Press, that's what we were laughing about before, was all of your authors that are fantastic and all in the family. But talk a little bit about that and what's coming out next. What's next?
yeah. So that Pen and Horse Press was started by our big sister slash cousin, Sissy Boo Boo, Carolyn Dunn and Paula Gunn Allen, and James Anderson. And um, Paula passed away, and then we were sitting at home in Oklahoma in 2017, and decided we were going to bring it back, and we did with a bang. So um, we've published Kimberly Weezer's Texas to Get Horses, which was amazing. Then we published Choctaw Apache Tommy Perry's Toledo Reds and Other Myths, which was the first Louisiana Indigi author we were able to put out, and that's like a huge mission.
Mm-hmm.
So for all the Creole Native identified and other, BIPOC folks listening, it's really a home press where we want to represent, and the more Louisiana voices, the better. Uh, so Kelly Clayton's amazing work just came out. I am in love with this book. It's just amazing.
It is. It
Um,
really is.
Kim Shuck, who's a poet laureate, it's coming out. And then next year we have folks like Andrew Jolivet's first creative book um, comes out, and a number of other folks. Gary Hobson's mother's book, which is about the 1927 flood. And as soon as I can twist your arm to get to writing, or just, I'm telling you, there's an app, you just talk, it transcribes.
You don't even have to type.
So, you don't even have to type. You get in the bubble bath. I told you, you turn on the phone and you get your wine. And
And then you just write the book. Just write the book.
you just talk it out. And then you give it to me. And then Tracy Auntie's book will be out.
That's a 2021 project for sure. So
we're booked through 2021, so it's perfect.
Oh, see? Look. See? So you're definitely looking for Louisiana authors is what you're saying.
We definitely want it's a home project because we're just two, crazy old Indian Creole academics who know that our voices aren't out there. And so while we definitely support folks of color and Indigenous folks and Black folks across the kind of diaspora of Turtle Island, our kind of pet project is having our voices from home be heard. So, yes.
Yeah, that was your
Come to Auntie
commercial.
Rain.
Yeah, come to Auntie Rain. And let me just say for the record, if you say that you want to do it, then that means you're going to do it because she's going to make sure that you write the thing. Okay. You're not getting out of
That's
it.
right.
You're going to write the thing. But no, I think it's great. I think it's great to have a space and for those authors and for those stories to be told. Kelly's book just is amazing. And it's so many stories of here, and it's so real and authentic, and it just makes you feel it and see it when you're reading it. She just did such an incredible job. And it's giving that opportunity though, because that just was something that wasn't there before. And one of the things Andrew and I have talked about and we've said a million times is we can't get frustrated about somebody telling our story if we're not telling our story ourselves.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for opening that door and giving that space and that platform for people to be creative and to write and to put their work out there. That's significant.
Absolutely. Writing, I can speak from experience. Reading something for the first time from someone that came from a space I did changed my life.
Yeah.
Changed my life. So yeah, those voices matter.
Yeah, for sure. So I have another question for you. This is my hard
Yes, ma'am.
question that I ask everybody. What is your definition of Creole?
Oh hell.
See, that's what everybody says. They're always like, oh. But my reason for asking is because I'm trying to get people to see that there's no definition that's wrong. And I want people to hear all of these, how everybody's answers are so different, but all also very much the same, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So God. So I'm gonna give you two.
Okay. God.
because I spend
Overachiever.
so much time, uh, I spend so much time in academia trying to explain, right, Creole folk to people who have no like idea outside of, watching American Horror Story Coven.
Right.
Um, so like the academic definition that I do and that Andrew and I and Daryl Barthay do in the Creole book that's coming out, um, which you and a bunch of other people are a part of. Um, it's like who's who of the Creole elite, uh, you know, of yeah, I can't even think, but it's quite an amazing collection. But the kind of like academic thing is we call it a post-contact Afro-Indigenous community. So basically, in a nutshell, that means, what happens when you have Black and Indigenous bodies that are colonized by French and Spanish folks. And this kind of multi-generational thing that happens over the years that creates a culture that is distinctly Louisiana, but also can't exist without our African cultural markers and family markers, and can't exist without our Indigenous culture and family ties, and can't exist without our Latinidad and French and Spanish ties. So that it becomes something new, but that isn't of itself, but is still tied to the African and Indigenous diaspora of the Gulf South. Um, so that's kind of the academic jargon. And I guess the personal jargon would be um, my my joke of, the what are you joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to have these singular, you're just Black, you're just Native, you're just white, right? And they'll do that with all of us lined up in the same family with like the same grandma or the same two parents and be like, this one's white, and this one's Native, and this one's Black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we're all second cousins or first cousins or brother and sister. Um, and so it's the possibility of, right, I think we stand as kind of testimony to ancestors who refused to be stomped down, who did everything that they could despite ethnic and racial genocide, um, to hold on to not just aspects of our racial and ethnic inheritance from three continents, but endeavored to keep us together, tied to the land that we were created on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is why ultimately land, family, and food is at the heart of everything. Right? You just, it is part of everything. So to me, then, that personal kind of Creole is, yes, it's that academic definition. It is post-contact Afro-Indigeneity, but it's wholly based on the kind of intimacy of surviving, and not just surviving, but kind of thumbing your nose at the powers that be to retain who we are,
Yeah.
uncompromised, and that's tied to the land, it's tied to our family, um, it's tied to the songs that we sing, the food we make, the people we marry who we find out we're related to, those kind of
Yeah.
things.
For sure.
And that was long-winded. I suck at short.
Well, no, it's not. I think that's right. And I think that everybody's just right. That's why I tell everybody, I'm like, yep, exactly. Because it's right. And there's that common thread that runs through what everybody's definition is, and that it does come back to family and tradition and ancestry and space and all of those things. And that, but and that's why I ask, to get away from the arguments on Facebook and the things that the questions that I've been answering for 20 plus years. But is that I want to ask every guest that question, because every guest is going to have their gonna say their definition in those words in a different way. And one of those ways is going to resonate with somebody, and it's going to make them say, that's how I see it, or that's how I feel, or that's the words that I'm looking for. And that was, when I wrote the I Am Creole, I wrote it laying across the foot of my bed. Kind of, and I was writing it and talking to Richie at the same time. And then I said, hey, listen to this. And he was like, I think that's what you say all the time, but just in a very, just a few sentences. And I had no idea that it would, resonate so much with people the way that it has.
No, absolutely. I'm just agreeing, absolutely. And it, it's one of my dad has that T-shirt.
Thanks, Dad.
And so, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I just wanted to take a minute and just acknowledge you for all the work that you've done, and for being so open. And again, just for providing a space that's safe and welcoming, and so full of energy and possibility, that it makes such a difference, and it's so significant for so many people that you're able to impact through the work that you do, and the work that you do in the classroom, and sharing who we are, and teaching every day, and giving so much of yourself, but also for being such a wonderful sister and best friend, and always being there when I needed you. And I love you. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Love you too. Thank you for, you just keep fanning the spark and keeping us all in line. And we
I'm trying. Everyone can see it's a hard job.
and I'm just so grateful for it. And I love you to pieces. You are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You go get Missy.
One last thing I wanted to ask you, if people want to get in touch with you, or they want to order books, where do they go?
So the easiest thing to do is go to thatpaintedhorsepress.blogspot.com. Go to That Painted Horse Press Facebook page, or they can email thatpaintedhorsepress@gmail.com.
And guys, I'll have all of this in the show notes for you. So if you're driving and you can't write this down, just look in the description and you'll see all of that contact information. If you are a writer and you are looking for an outlet, I'm giving it to you right now on a silver platter. This is a great opportunity. So here it is. Again, that paintedhorsepress@gmail.com. Just, shoot your shot for 2021 and send that email and write the book. So thank you, Rain. I appreciate it.
Thank you, darling. Nicole Missy. Thank you. Thank you.
I hope this episode was of value to you. And if you're a poet or a writer and interested in getting your work published, that you reach out to Rain. You can get in touch with her at thatpaintedhorsepress@gmail.com. You can also find them on Facebook as That Painted Horse Press and thatpaintedhorsepress.blogspot.com. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and thanks for listening. Shop Gumbo Life for apparel, face masks, phone covers, home goods, and much more at gumbolife.com, in the official Gumbo Life store, and on Amazon. You can find us on Facebook at Gumbo Life, or on Instagram at Gumbo Life Blog. Make sure to tag your Gumbo Life gear, #Gumbo Lifestyle. Music by Cody Cassard. Editing and production by Tracy Ante.